Hey guys, welcome to the Inside the Drinks business. We are at BevZero. This is where an action happens, right? So we're in a booming category of no alcoholic wines, and we're going to have a tour of this facility. I have Matt here with me. Matt, by the way, thanks for having us here.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Why don't you show us around? Show us what's your office about, and take us to the facility. So let's just keep it rolling here.
I'll give you behind the scenes.
These are your demos. These are
a few of
customers,
the clients and the people that we have created products for and worked with.
Nice. I can see some CBD as well.
Absolutely. We've done a lot of infused products, non-alcoholic wines, beers, spirits, different products, some RTDs.
Nice.
But come on back and let me show you a little bit about what we do.
Hey guys, this is Sid Patel, CEO of Beverage Trade Network, and we are live at BevZero. We're going to have this Inside the Drinks episode dedicated to how non-alcoholic wines are made. I have here Matt Hughes with me. Matt, thanks for having us at your facility, first of all.
Absolute pleasure.
And in this episode, we want to really take you behind the scenes, and you're going to see how the products are made, their lab. He's going to really explain about each process of this making. And initially, let's begin the conversation about this category, right? I think it's still booming. It is becoming a main category. It's coming in the menu. So give us your context about where we are at with this in mid 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming and checking it out. I mean, it is a very dynamic category, growing. There's a lot of interest coming from all different areas, from people that are experienced in wine production and have existing wine brands, to people that have no beverage experience at all and are just interested mainly in the non-alcoholic space and coming into it for that reason. But lots of interest these days, coming from all those different avenues. And I think, it's poised as continued growth for sure in the marketplace, but also an evolution in terms of bigger players getting involved. I think, there have been a lot of people that are on the frontier of the non-alc space, and they've made inroads and they've put products out, and they're creating a lot of the energy and the attention that it's getting. But that'll be followed up with more accessible products coming from familiar producers and that type of thing is the next kind of evolution.
Nice. I think when big brands come, as you say, and they're stepping in, they create consumers, right?
Yeah,
because with their ads and with their sheer marketing power. Can you name some people who are getting, or it's still confidential?
No, I can't name anyone talking to us currently.
Okay.
But I mean, they're all out there. They're all
coming in.
Everyone's interested, and I think for a very good reason. The exciting thing about it for me is that this is one of the things, and I think contrary to the way the wine industry is traditionally developed, is this is being led by consumers. The interest in this space and the interest in these products is being led by consumer demand, saying, we want this, we need this, we're interested in these types of products, rather than wineries coming out and say, hey, we think this is really great, you should try it. It's really the opposite. And it's just about people getting the quality of the products where they want them to be, in terms of the producers getting the quality that they're looking for, so they can go out there and back it. And put it out there and make it available to everyone. So that's coming, and I think our processes and what we're doing here to improve the process of making de-alcoholized products is a big part of it, of course. These are rotary evaporators that we use to trial and do benchtop experiments for products coming in.
What does that mean? Benchtop experiments, meaning?
So if we want to take, for instance, maybe even one bottle of product and de-alcoholize it and do a trial on making a product and developing with it, we can run it on these machines, which basically replicate the process that we do out in the cellar. So
what is the reason for this? So just to see a sample, and you would advise the winery that this batch, it's not going to work properly. So
yeah, for instance, to trial out different options for base wines, for non-alcoholic products, Or it could just be that, we want to work with small volumes until we have a concept together or a full production scale process we'd like to do.
Got it. Cool.
Oh, this is Ben. Ben is the gentleman who handles all the product development here at BevZero.
How's it going? Great. So how long have you been here for?
I've been here for a little over a year and a half.
Nice. What were you doing before this?
I worked in wine chemistry, wine analysis, a little bit of wine production. Nice. Came on here to run the lab and develop new non-alcoholic wine.
Fantastic. Thanks I think there's a lot of improvement overall in the category of taste, right? So
that's the goal.
What keeps you going? Like what kind of benchmarks do you aim at more and more yourself, like when you're just in your zone?
I think that, there's this idea a lot of the time that if you're getting a non-alcoholic wine, you're somehow getting an inferior product. And we see every day in the lab the fact that that's not true, and we can make really amazing products. It's just a case of finding the right base wines and making them better and better, and then scaling that up to production. And so the fact that things are changing so rapidly and improving so quickly is super exciting and makes it really fun to work in. You're always making something better every time you make something new.
Nice. So most of our audience is like trade, right? So do you think they have enough knowledge of how this is actually made, or do you think we can explain them about this is a simple way in how this is made? Like, are there myths out there where sommeliers think that it's made like this, but it's actually not? Like one of the things, for example, as a leading point I would give you is, I was surprised when you said it's actually expensive to make this than a normal alcoholic wine.
Yeah,
right?
there are more costs in making a non-alcoholic product because you have the alcoholic product and all the costs associated with it. That's your starting point, and then you have an added process to that. So it can be, a little bit more of an expensive, more time-consuming process to create a non-alcoholic product. Mm-hmm. I do feel like the market is supporting those prices, which is really fascinating. Most of the consumers for non-alcoholic products are consumers of alcoholic products.
That's such a puzzle for a consumer that I'm paying more, like $10 for a non-alcoholic.
Yeah, it is, and I think it will eventually also, there'll be a solve for that in the long term as products get developed and people figure out how to utilize all the other streams that are created. So to talk a little bit about the process, so that to kind of back up a little bit and talk about the process of making a non-alcoholic product, or at least the process that we have here at BevZero. So the technology that we use is called a spinning cone column, and is at the heart of the technology is vacuum distillation. So this is a different process from the RO process, or reverse osmosis process, that is also prevalent in the wine industry, which people are very much aware of. And the main differences are, when you use a reverse osmosis process, you have a membrane, and on one side of it you have an alcoholic product, and the other side of it you have something without alcohol, and the osmotic effect is what takes that product and removes the alcohol from it across this membrane. So our process is an actual distillation process. So it is at a very low temperature, and that's why it's under vacuum. That's why the process happens under vacuum. But it is separating alcohol from wine or from beer or spirits based on the boiling point of alcohol, right? So when you're under vacuum pressure, the same thing that would occur in a normal distillation process occurs, but at much lower temperatures. So the product is protected from damage, but you are distilling the alcohol away from the product itself. And the reason why we use the spinning cones is the cones aren't actually a centrifuge. It doesn't actually spin the alcohol out, but what it does is spins the product into a thin film, which makes the distillation process much faster and easier to take place. So the cones actually disperse the product inside this vacuumed column, and then there's a distillation process with product going in, and there's no steam being injected, which is the other great thing about the spinning cone column. It's actually heated product that gets injected to the column, instantly vaporizes, creates an alcohol stream and a de-alcoholic product coming out of the machines.
And how long does it take? Like, what's the quantity versus time ratio?
So we can do anything from, a few barrels here, which is roughly 120 gallons, up to tens of thousands of gallons. And depending on the size of the lot that comes in, we have different size machines that we can run those lots on. So for running smaller lots, our machine typically will run maybe around 200, 300 liters per hour. And then the larger machines that we can do much bigger quantities on, they may run as fast as 2,000 or 2,500 liters an hour. So Sid, this is the cellar, so the main production area of BevZero. So typically wine only is with us for maybe 3 or 4 days. Okay. So we'll receive a wine, put it into one of our tanks, hold it, get it ready for processing, process the wine into a non-alcoholic wine or adjusted product, a low alcoholic product. And then the wine is shipped out maybe by the end. So
let's go slowly on that process, right? Yeah. So you said wine comes in first. You have a loading dock behind?
We unload trucks out here and on the side of the building.
And they just have a pipe and it's connected here?
Yeah, typically it's, most of the time it's tanker loads. Okay. And so they're getting pumped out and into the facility.
Got it. So now, as soon as they're here, you let them still, or what is the time you let them?
So typically we try not to hold wine much more than 36, 48 hours.
Okay.
So
but minimum 24 hours.
Minimum 24 hours. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So once they're here, what is the next phase exactly after this?
So once wine gets unloaded and put into tank for processing, will be fed into the machines.
So these are all wines, right? Like this is just a storage.
Yeah, these are just
the before ones, the alcoholic wines.
And both. And some tanks wines are getting ready to be processed. Some tanks are post de-alcoholization.
Okay.
Wines are about to ship out. But basically all the wines run through the spinning cone columns.
All right.
So you can get a good sense here on the screen of what the spinning cone process looks like. So you have wines coming into the cones. They're getting processed through the vacuum distillation process, and then we keep an eye on all the temperature and flow rates and everything during the process, and our run sheets, and we record data frequently and monitor the runs to make sure everything is going smoothly. So it's a very automated process as well.
Okay.
And so if you look inside here, it's quite noisy, but this is basically where the real magic happens. Inside the cellar. So we have the large machine and a double column machine here. And you can see, actually, the wine's being run.
Alcohol. No, the process is on right now.
So yeah.
Alcohol would go down?
De-alkalized wine.
Okay. And alcohol would go up, right?
Yeah. Alcohol goes up through that condenser into here, and in this little tube is the alcohol coming out. Because it's only a small fraction of what's being run, right? Yeah, if you think about it, like if someone's bringing us 20,000 gallons, ultimately there's maybe 200 gallons of alcohol.
Yeah.
Right? It's such a
not
small
much,
percentage, yeah.
And then from there, it goes back in the tank. Like that is a tank, right? So then you empty it.
So this is a continuous flow.
Yeah.
So it actually is going from one tank through the machines to another tank.
Got it. That's what I figured.
Yeah,
so there are pipes below?
Yeah. No, just an overhead line and then flexible hoses. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And once the non-alcoholic wine is in the tank, again, how many days you let it go, or how many hours?
As short as absolutely possible. Maximum 24 hours.
Maximum. So you ship them out back.
Yeah, absolutely. So most of the wines are either getting blended back into a larger volume for alcohol reduction, and we want that to happen as quick as possible, or if they're non-alcoholic products, they're slated for packaging. So we don't like to bring in, for non-alcoholic products, we don't like to bring in anything and process it until there's a packaging date. And we know what that packaging date is, and then we can run the product and have a very short time between running the product and having a packaging date for shelf life preservation and quality.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. What are some of the lessons that you've learned in so that wineries who are shipping you the raw material, call it the alcoholic wine, how can they make it better? Like you touched based on the base, right?
Yeah.
So what are some techniques that who are preparing for the next chapter into getting into this category? So that what's your tips to them?
Yeah, one of the biggest tips I think that we've learned, aside from just logistics and timing and making sure that works, smoothly, is everything is concentrated in the de-alcoholization process, because you are removing alcohol, you're removing some water from the product, and so you get a concentration effect. And so that also means any bitterness, off characters, things like that can be concentrated as well. So for wineries that want to have a smooth process of making a non-alcoholic product or lower alcoholic product, the best thing they can do is really work to make the starting wine, the base wine, as high quality as absolutely possible, and also as and sometimes as stable and soft as possible as well, especially for products like red wines. If there's any fining that can be done in advance of the process, that could help the outcome tremendously sometimes.
So let's go on the operations part, right? Like any winery that's looking to make de-alcohol wine or looking to convert their batch into non-alcoholic, so they would ship in flexi tank, or maybe their whole bulk wine would come here, in this facility.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is that because of the equipment is amazing and very, very efficient, and the two outstreams, one incoming wine, then you have de-alcoholized product and spirits coming out the other side, basically. So we are what's called a DSP, so we have the ability to legally have spirits in house.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, do you sell bulk spirits as well then?
We do, we do, and so we're able to do that. That's one of the reasons why it's a good idea for people to ship product to us, and then also what it takes to run especially the larger machines, is a lot of infrastructure to power those machines. So, typically the process would look like someone would ship bulk wine to us, we would de-alcoholize it, and then return it to the producer. So we don't do any packaging or anything like that here. So this is simply processing alcoholic
liquid, basically
liquids into two fractions and separating it out.
And this is where the extra cost is, right? Because what they're shipping is sort of the finished product.
Correct.
And then the logistics of two-way plus your fees.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, as things go down into the future, there'll be ways to reduce those costs.
But then, Matt, they do save on duties, right? They do save on taxes. They do save on all that stuff.
Yeah, well, historically, our facility, the traditional business model that we've always had for the last 30 years was actually just removing alcohol from a portion of a client's wine for an adjustment purpose, right? So they may be looking to hit a certain tax level, or maybe for quality reasons that they want to have a certain percentage of alcohol in their wine. And sometimes lower alcohol can make the wine more expressive and just more balanced overall. And so clients can send us a portion of wine. We remove the alcohol from the portion, which gets blended back as an adjustment process. But that's been our historical business, and more so now what we're doing is removing alcohol fully and creating non-alcoholic products. And that's another big part of our business here as well, is actually working with people to develop non-alcoholic products. So we do product development here. We don't do business modeling here, or we're not necessarily in the business of helping startups, but people that are already up and running, having existing brands or companies, or want to create a extension of what they're already doing in the non-alcoholic space. We do product development for those types of clients as well. And just because we have decades of experience of knowing what wines, for instance, which is something I'm going to speak about at the show, is what kind of wine translates well into de-alcoholized wine, or what are the things you can do to build some of the taste in the body back up to be more adjacent to what people expect from an alcoholic wine.